North of Preston in Lancashire is a village named Goosnargh, and in this village lies one of Britain's oldest and most haunted buildings, Chingle Hall. Formerly known as Singleton Hall, this historic building was constructed in 1260 by the knight Adam de Singleton, and was owned by the family until the 16th century. The Farrington family owned the hall from 1764, and during these years the hall was used as a meeting point for religious activity. Great efforts were made to keep the Roman Catholic traditions alive, as hiding holes were dug into the walls and a number of tunnels were dug which headed towards surrounding buildings in the area as a method of escape. One of the rooms that has previously encountered a number of unusual events is the kitchen. It is often reported by the current residents that pots and pans are moved about, and are constantly witnessing bangs similar to the sounds of cutlery being banged together. One of the most active rooms at the hall is Eleanor's room. This room belonged to Eleanor Singleton. It has been reported that Eleanor was held captive in this room for over 12 years, until her death at the age of 20. It has been suggested that Eleanor was murdered in this room, however no one is certain if this is a fact. An overwhelming sadness has been detected by a number of visitors who visit Eleanor's room, with some people reporting the smell of lavender throughout the hall.
Now, back in 1997 I was lucky enough to visit Chingle Hall, and I had a very unusual experience in Eleanor's room where, as the guide was talking to us all, I felt as if I was rocking like side to side.
A number of months later I returned to Chingle Hall and I explained my experience in Eleanor's room to the owner. To my amazement, I discovered that only 2 weeks previous, one of the guests suddenly broke down in tears in Eleanor's room and had to leave the building, later explaining that he felt as if he was on a boat, comparing his feelings to seasickness. Once inside the hall, you will notice the wooden beams on the ceiling, which have a number of unusual symbols on them. Nobody knew what these symbols meant until a group of scientists took samples of the wood and found that the wood was many years older than the hall. This wood seemed to show large traces of salt, and it was discovered that the wooden beams were at one time belonging to a Viking longboat. It has been documented that in the 1950s the beams suddenly caught fire for no reason, and the fire disappeared as quickly as it started. It is reported that the smell of burning wood still lingers in many of the rooms at Chingle Hall, ever since this bizarre occurrence. One of the most famous ghost sightings at Chingle Hall is that of a 17th century gentleman named John Wall, who in the 1600s went over to France to become a priest. John returned to England to visit a friend, but was soon arrested and then convicted of being a Catholic priest. A century later, his severed head was brought back to Chingle Hall by a group of nuns, who buried John's head somewhere within the grounds of Chingle Hall. But where exactly, nobody knows. Ever since then, the spirit of the priest has been spotted roaming the grounds surrounding Chingle Hall, and it is believed that until his head is found, the spirit of John will never be at rest.
Now, also Chingle Hall has its own chapel where the sighting of a hooded monk has been spotted, and he was on his knees as if he was in prayer.
The figure of a hooded monk was a regular soul reported to have been seen crossing through the hall and towards the doorway to the stairs. The sounds of the main doorway opening and closing on its own, along with lights flickering on and off for no apparent reason. Chingle Hall now serves as a private residence, no longer open to the public. But phenomena recorded throughout the years makes Chingle Hall one of the most haunted buildings in Britain.